Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talos of Tech, live on Twitch. Welcome to my completely 100% owned, end-to-end, not using any third-party material of any kind. The shirt, I designed this watch. Every iPhone box is custom made, not made by Apple, it's made by me. And Twitch cannot copyright penalize me in any sort of way because everything is 100% mine. Don't freak out, Twitch. We'll be okay. Hope you all are doing well today. Hope you all are taking the bad news very, very well. I know it was 21 hours ago, but I want to thank Hape1967 for the Twitch Prime sub. And 1 to 2 hours ago, we got a subscription of a tier 1 from Sovereignly Low. So I don't know if you're tuning in, but if you watch after the fact, thank you. Appreciate it. And, now we got people tuning in now. Semi-itch. I don't know how to say your name, but thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate that. Proprietary at its best. Yes, we do not have the updated dance language yet. However, we will get there. We will find some type of music. Though I do think it would be quite hilarious if there was no music, but I danced anyway, but you could just hear the natural sounds of what me dancing makes. That would be fantastic. I think just hearing the little shoes dancing around. It would be very cringy, and it would make a lot of people confused, but I think we might try something like that. That way, there's just no copyright strikes to worry about, because there's no music at all. How am I a liar? Thank you for the bits. Hatsunemiku, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub, 039. So yeah, hope you're taking the bad iPhone 12 news today fairly well. Sadly, my smart price is somewhat accurate when it comes to leaking stuff, and as we get closer to the iPhone 12, the more and more leaks we hear, the more accurate they become, as mass production should be starting around now for the iPhone 12, which is weird to think about. All these iPhones people are going to be unboxing in the next couple months and testing out and, admiring the new squared off design, the new form factors. That's being built as we speak. That's being put together. That's being manufactured. The metal has been cut. They're in existence. They're real. And I think A14 Chip is our savior here, because I am absolutely in agreement that I don't believe Apple would make a follow-up iPhone with worse battery life than the year prior, particularly if the iPhones are getting larger, which to me means that these new battery sizes say a lot about how power efficient the A14 chip is. Tag me with a link or DM me a link with the Geekbench A14 rumor, because I was trying to find it recently, Michael. We were reading through it in Discord one time. Basically, if I remember correctly, there was a leak, I don't know if it's real or not, but someone was claiming that the performance of the A14 chip when it comes to single core would be about the same as the A12Z chip. And in my opinion, I feel like in terms of what a CPU can do for a phone, they're kind of maxing it out, when it comes to 4K at 120, 4K at 240 FPS. Yeah, that's cool and all. But if there's anything they can do with the future of Apple Silicon, it's power efficiency on the phone, because there's not too much use cases of like, wow, it's even faster. You can export videos on your phone even faster than before. How much faster can we get when it comes to app launch times and that kind of thing? So if Apple wants to prioritize anything, it would be just extreme low power mode, and that would allow for battery life to be around the same with smaller battery packs. That's the best example I can make outside of this leak being incorrect, which is still possible. My smart price isn't perfect, but fairly accurate in the past. They did the same thing going from the 6 to the 6S, and battery in my 6S was always just as good as the 6. There you go. I don't know if they've ever shrunk them by this much before, though. I know there's been times where they've used physically smaller battery packs than prior, but the difference is I don't think they were this drastic. I don't think they were like 8 to 10% smaller. They were usually like 5 to 3% smaller, which is what has some people scratching their heads on how they could shrink the battery by this much and still get equal battery performance. I can't click on the links in the chat, so just as long as they're in Discord next time I open them. But The original iPhone had a bigger battery than the 3G. The 4S had a bigger battery than the 5. The 6 had a bigger battery than the 6S. I'm not worried. Maybe they're trying to avoid a Note 7 situation. Well, I think every company from every phone should be trying to avoid the Note 7 situation. But at the same time, I have to wonder, like, if you can make the form factors larger, why does the battery have to be smaller? Like, if you found if you found some type of way of making the A14 chip really, really power efficient, why not then just keep the same battery packs and result in larger battery, which would help us with 120 hertz. It would help us with the 5G modems, which we know are very power hungry. So maybe this is their way of cutting corners. This is their way of keeping the iPhone pricing somewhat competitive. But since, when John Prosser originally tweeted or posted the supposed iPhone 12 pricing, he thought that BOE was going to be manufacturing their displays, and now they're not. Samsung is going to be taking over BOE, which is more expensive. So I think it's pretty possible that the original price points we heard months ago could be inaccurate, and there's been more recent reports suggesting that iPhone prices are not going to be as good as we think they are, which would allude to the idea that the iPhone 12 starts at the same price as the 11, but it's a smaller footprint. So it would be, $700 for the 5.4 inch, $800 for the 6.1 inch, and $1,000 and $1,100 for the Pros. I don't know if 120 hertz is happening, and no one else does, from what I can tell. I would just go ahead and assume it's not happening. If you had to ask my personal prediction, I would say it's probably not going to happen, because if Apple wanted to do some type of high refresh rate display, they would need the LTPO display panel switcher that we have in the Series 5 and our iPads that allow them to have that extreme variable refresh rate. Well, I'm not sure if the iPads have them, but they have LCD displays, so they don't need them or something like that. But OLED needs the LTPO in order to do that variable refresh rate. So I don't... Drew knows just as much as we do about 120. Everyone knows as much as you do about 120. Don't believe... Every leaker that said 120 hertz is happening doesn't know what they're talking about. Because any report I've read on 120 hertz is just about... Well, they want to, but they're not sure. They might do it, they might not do it. It's like, so no, you don't know. Just say you don't know. You don't need all this extra fluff in there about, well, it could, but it might not. But it's like, you don't know. No one knows. A14 and the iPad Air 4? I doubt it. I doubt they would put the A14 in the Air 4 because they would want the iPad Pros to have the best silicon. So I would expect the A12 most likely for the Air 4. Apple's shown in years prior they're okay doing an iPad upgrade with just hardware differences and no CPU differences. They've done that with the budget iPad. I see no reason why they couldn't do it with the iPad Air. Best case scenario, it gets an A13 chip, which would be something. But yeah, I wouldn't count on an A14 him. Just hoping Touch Bar doesn't burn my hand anymore. Yeah, I don't want anything to burn your hand. That'd be bad. If they did put the A14 chip in the Air 4, then they would have to be updating the iPad Pro at the same time, and leaks and rumors are not suggesting that they're refreshing the iPad Pro this year. So I do believe there's an Air 4 coming out later this year, but I imagine silicon-wise it won't be rocking A14. They'll probably keep the A12 around for that. They did the 9.7-inch budget iPad had an A10 chip, and then the following year they updated it to the 10.2-inch iPad, and it still had an A10. So that didn't change. Let's see. The rumors for the Air 4 are essentially a skimmed-down version of the 11-inch iPad Pro from 2018. So no fancy camera, but it will have Face ID, it will have USB-C, it will have Apple Pencil 2 support. It would probably even be compatible with the Magic Keyboard case, the smaller version, and it would probably start around $500. No ProMotion, no stereo speakers, but it would look clean and look modern. So that's all pretty much we know for the Air 4. Apple's not behind everyone. They prioritize what people care about the most, almost to a fault, in my opinion. Thunderfrog, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Apple prioritizes what they know is going to sell the best. So while it may not be top-of-the-line specs in every single category, they know what people are going to care about the most. So if making Samsung might have the best specs overall with something like the S20 Ultra, but it's $1,400. No one's gonna want that thing. Whereas Apple is gonna make something that's $800 that prioritizes things that people care about, like the design and the display and the biometrics and the performance and the things people care about at a reasonable price point, as what Apple's focusing on here. Um, let's see. Thoroughly convinced the A14 chip is very good power saving wise because Apple won't want to deal with the bad publicity. Probably expect the same battery with iPhone 12. Remember the transition to 5 nanometers. They've done these types of transitions before, but the battery. The truth is, in prior years where they started using smaller battery packs, um, they weren't as drastic as a jump. That's what has most people concerned about these smaller battery leaks. Is that in prior years it was like 3 to 5% smaller, and this year it's like 8 to 10. So that's why the title of the stream is save us A14 chip, because it would require such a drastic jump in power efficiency. And we've seen the jumps from 10 nanometer to 7 nanometer from prior years. So it's hard to know if they're able to actually save that much power, especially if they're rocking 5G this year. Um, but yeah, it's impossible to know here. We're just hoping so. And I would not count on 120 hertz happening. Don't count on it. They already did the power efficiency stuff with the A13. Yeah, that was a partially. You can do power efficiency every year. It's not that you have to do it or you can't do it at all. They can work on it every year, and I do expect 5 nanometer chip design to be helpful, and I do expect there to be some power efficiency there. I'm just really worried that you know it's going to be possibly worse, despite Apple saying, "Oh, it'll be about the same." You know how they kind of throw stuff off like that. Yeah, it'll kind of be the same or something like that. I haven't heard A14 would be double of the A13. I haven't heard that, but I did hear it would be kind of like having an A12Z chip in an iPhone. That's what I've heard so far, which sounds about right. Rip your battery, that one guy on one specific street in Chicago. Yeah, I just mean the 5G modems are more power hungry, and that's a bandwidth test you wouldn't be able to do on our current iPhones because they don't have 5G. But if they did, and you started doing those stupid 5G performance tests, you would start to realize, oh, this is using a lot of power. But actually, you'll use a lot of power anytime you're downloading things at like 1,000 megabits a second. Anytime you have gigabit performance, whether it's Wi-Fi or cellular, it's pretty hard on your phone to be downloading that much content at the same time. Yeah, it's very unlikely the benchmarks are real because I doubt anyone has an iPhone with an A14 chip functionally right now. They're just barely getting off the assembly line, so I doubt anyone would be able to grab one and download Geekbench and start testing it. Highly doubt that. Um, let's see. Especially looking at screens from Samsung and OnePlus phones, so better with no notch and less bezels all the way around. It's very reactionary. At first glance, it may look better, but after a while, you just use your phone. You don't think about it. Um, if all that mattered was the screen to body ratio, then those Vivo Nex phones would be selling like crazy. But what we've seen time after time after time is that the majority of user doesn't care about the percentage of screen to body ratio. They care what's on the display much more than what the display is made out of. OLED for many people would be argued as the better display technology than LCD, but here we are halfway through 2020 and LCD iPhones are still outselling OLED iPhones. There's a reason, because price matters more than performance to people. So yeah, you can have your OnePlus, you can have your Samsung with their super thin bezel, low camera, no notch camera cutout or pop-up camera or whatnot, but most people aren't buying those because they don't care, because Android isn't as pleasant as an experience for people. That's what happens. S10, S20 hole punch isn't that much better. You can't do Face ID. OnePlus 7 Pro is an exception. Well, yeah, even OnePlus wanted to go back on the 7 Pro's design. They didn't like the pop-up camera after a while. They were like, you know what? Let's go back to a camera punch hole. Mid-range 5G rather than millimeter wave. We don't need mid-range 5G. We need good 4G. We don't need anything related to 5G. All we need is better coverage on 4G. And there, no one was complaining that the speeds of 4G were getting maxed out. They were complaining that 4G wasn't available in their area. Man, people are really getting angry about 120. At the same time as I get millions of comments. Oh, Drew, people don't care about 120 hertz. Same time. I want 120 hertz. They freak out so fast. You need an ugly cutout on your phone for a feature you'll never use. I don't like the notch being there, but I don't think it's that big a deal if it was gone. It's the part of the phone you look at the least. Having used the OnePlus 7 Pro, having used the Galaxy S20, having used the OnePlus 8, that have all used either pop-up cameras with no notch, smaller notches, camera hole cutouts, it all blends into the background and you don't even think about it. It's not that big of a deal. We could put 4G everywhere and make insanely efficient modems with the absurd amount of money we're spending on 5G. Yeah, you just wouldn't be able to sell people on some higher priced item. You gotta buy this phone because it has 5G. You gotta buy this cell plan because it has 5G support. Ugh. After like 2 hours of using a notched phone, you no longer care. It's just there. And it's the same thing with a no-notched phone. If Apple miraculously removed the notch this year, you would get used to not having it within about an hour. Probably less, and you wouldn't even think about it. You'd still use your phone exactly the same way. And yeah, you don't have Face ID on other phones. That's why they don't have notches that big. I still like Face ID more than Touch ID. Gotta admit. There's been a few use cases now where I've been using the OnePlus 8 for vlogging and occasionally trying stuff out on Android and stuff like that, and I still can't get as comfortable with the fingerprint reader compared to Face ID. It's just too much of a particular, gotta touch it a certain way, whereas I feel like looking at my phone a certain way isn't that hard because I gotta look at my phone anyway. Whereas saying I have to touch it right here and I can't touch it over there and I can't touch it that slowly or that fast, I don't know. Apple markets 5G, but it's really good super 4G. I'm honestly concerned / annoyed about how much time they're probably going to spend on stage talking about it, because every single phone company has to do the same thing. Ugh. Yeah, I'm so sick of. I already know they're gonna spend so much on stage talking about cellular modems and stuff like that. I would much rather them spend time talking about how the A14 chip works, because I'm seeing, oh yeah, augmented reality features, because the 12 Pro is gonna have lidar. I just realized they've never talked about lidar on stage that much. There was barely any augmented reality demos at the developer conference, and there was no keynote for the new iPad Pros this year. So that means, yeah, the iPhone might be the first time they actually talk about lidar on stage. Yeah. 99% of the time you don't even think about your phone is locked. You just swipe up and that's it. Yeah, that's usually how I use it. I'm sure they'll invite some Qualcomm exec, run a speed test, do some AR demo. 5G will be like half an hour. Oh no, that would be horrible. I don't know. Apple doesn't seem like the company to invite a Qualcomm executive on stage. That doesn't seem like them. That seems like something Craig would talk about, or Phil would talk about their next generation modems they use. Yeah, it is kind of hard to do an AR demo in a virtual event. But it's not that great in an in-person event either, because for AR to work, you have to look at some big screen anyway. Not everyone can look at the iPad Pro is doing without a big projector. Yeah, they didn't mention Wi-Fi 6 in the 11 series. Yeah, I feel like Wi-Fi 6 isn't advertised as heavily as 5G though. So many carriers are pushing 5G like it's the coming of Christ, like this is gonna cure cancer at the same time as causing cancer. No, I'm kidding. 5G is the biggest thing to come to phones ever, and Apple's gonna want to make sure people are aware of that and be like, hey, okay, iPhones have it too. All right, calm down, we can do it. So I feel like they'd be more upfront about it. When will Big Sur public beta release? I'm surprised it's not out yet. I'm surprised they haven't launched it. I don't know. Don't they occasionally release stuff on Tuesdays? They could do it tomorrow. I don't know. I don't have a good theory, so someone else has probably calculated, well, this is the time they launch certain things. I don't know. Let's see. Is it fair to assume the next iPad Pro will fit the current Magic Keyboard case? I would say probably. Yeah, I think iPad Pro chassis redesigns aren't that real common. The real reason they did it with the 2018 iPad Pros was because they wanted Apple Pencil 2. So that was the whole reasoning behind the squared off edges, was so that you could dock the pencil really easily. Also, they brought it USB-C and Face ID, so it was kind of a big redesign nonetheless. All that's really rumored for the next generation iPad Pro is mini LED, which is basically just OLED but without the disadvantages on the iPad. So you don't have to worry about burn-in and that kind of thing, and you can do 120 hertz and all that. That's pretty much all that's rumored for the next one, so I don't see why they would drastically redesign the whole chassis. I mean, there is reports that they want to bring 5G to the iPad as well, but I don't think 5G would require a drastic redesign. So yeah, I think the next iPad Pro will probably still work with the Magic Keyboard case, unless there's some big change I'm not anticipating. Should I wait for next gen or take the free AirPods now? I would say at the earliest, the next gen iPad Pro would be March of next year. More than likely, but I wouldn't say it's likely. I would say if I had to guess when it's going to come out, it's more likely summertime. So if you can wait a year for the next iPad Pro, then I'd guess wait. But if you don't want to wait that long, go ahead, pull the trigger. You're talking about micro LED, mini LED is just a different backlighting technology for LCD. It allows for more dynamic range. It allows for deeper blacks. It allows for higher contrast ratio, which is all the benefits of OLED. That's what I mean by mini LED is like OLED, because it allows for the advantages of OLED without the drawback. That's how it works. I don't care about the actual behind-the-scenes process. Yeah, sure, it might be built differently than OLED, but I'm just saying, if you're wondering what mini LED is, it's just basically like imagining an OLED display on an iPad. That's pretty much what it is. But it's not OLED, I get that. Micro LED isn't coming for a while. There will be another free AirPods bundle by next year, too, so you can wait for that. If they gave me the option to remove that cutout in 5G, I'd take it. Yeah, oh, for sure, I would too. Absolutely. Yeah, the reason they want to switch to mini LED, though, is so that they can make it look more OLED-like. I get that the manufacturing techniques are different. I'm just saying that's the advantages. That's the point. If you read anything about mini LED, it allows them to have higher contrast ratio, higher dynamic range, which is what OLED allows for. Is Apple going to hide the cutout on stage or, like, embrace it? Oof. I'm still worried about that being a modem on the side. I bet they're going to try to make it blend in best they can. Maybe they'll come up with some color that makes it really, really hard to see. You guys remember how when they unveiled the iPhone 7 Plus, like, every single picture of it was jet black? And that made the antenna bands really hard to see? And that just gave it this really shining, glimmering look. Whereas the actual iPhone 7's, the one that was actually available, was like bright white cellular bands on the back with the rose gold and gold versions. Maybe they'll do something like that with the big 5G antenna on the side with that cutout. Now I can support you in one way. You've already supported me enough, Mike. Thank you for the Twitch Prime. Appreciate that. Thank you. The next iPad Pro isn't rumored for at least another 9 to 12 months, and the differences are just a better display and a faster processor. The current one is fine. I just got one, and I'm happy with it. So just get the free AirPods now. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a huge end-of-the-world circumstance if you decide to buy one now. I mean, A14X could be much faster than the A12Z, but at this point, I can't think of much. Before Dub, I would have said maybe Final Cut and Logic and Xcode really take advantage, and that's why you need the A14X, and the A12Z just doesn't cut it. But now it doesn't sound like those are coming. So, I don't know. Maybe they're still coming. We'll see. I want more RAM on iPad for more tabs on Safari without reloading every time and more pro apps. I just have never been the type of person to have that many tabs open in Safari. How many tabs are you switching between? You know, you can like ditch an old you can ditch an old tab if you're not using it anymore. If you need to go back to that tab, you can just activate history. I don't know. 6 gigs of RAM on the iPad seems like enough for me. I have not run into many circumstances where I'm like, ah, oh, dang it, the 6 gigs of RAM just isn't cutting it. No, they're not making the iPad Pro OLED, but they're giving it OLED like features with micro LED. Not sorry, not micro, mini LED. Oh my god, I hate all these names. There's too many dang different display technologies. They all do the same thing. They just have different techniques. You're holding it wrong. Oh yeah. You'd have a hard time doing a metal bumper case with the iPhone 12 because it would cover up the modem. Huh. Maybe next time I'm in the area, we can try folding the Y mirrors while driving around town, and you can test your theory from the EV podcast. That's a good idea. I might, if the trip is still on, we might be doing a meetup with me, Nick, and Randy in the next couple weeks for the 100th episode. We're not going to an airport or anything, so it should be relatively safe because Nick has been in extreme quarantine for many months. We have been quarantined for many months, and so is Randy. So we don't think that just us meeting up would cause that much of an issue. But he has a Model 3, so I could try it on that, I guess. The 6 gigs of RAM don't let me run Windows XP and Mac OS 10 Leopard sufficiently, like Snazzy Labs showed me. Well, that's because it's an emulation app, right? I don't think if the iPad had 16 gigs of RAM, it would let you run it very well. Do you think that the Google Pixel flagships have gotten too much attention from the media? Because I think they have. Because other companies are putting out more feature-packed and better spec flagships than they have, and for a better price, yet nobody talks about them. But because it's Google, they get the attention. Yeah, I think I would somewhat agree. I mean, YouTubers, I think, have made the Pixel lineup seem far more relevant than it actually is if you compare consumer awareness, like the number of people that actually know what a Pixel phone is compared to how YouTubers talk about it. They act like, well, Google's this major company, so if they're releasing hardware, it comes from that stem of like, okay, it's a simple fact that Apple drives clicks in the tech community, whether you hate them or love them. If you talk about Apple, it's gonna get a ton of views out of it. Um, so if you're getting a ton of talk about Apple, you don't want to be accused as a YouTuber or as a media outlet of just being like this prairie dog Apple, just like, oh, we only talk about Apple. I can't wait to hear what Apple announces next. So when another major company like a Microsoft or a Google announces some hardware, you want to be like, hey, we're a universally accepted, we talk about all kinds of tech, so we want to cover that too. When in reality, the truth is people care so much less about them, and they definitely don't get as many clicks. Just statistically, you can go back and watch what videos do well, and it's just a fact in my mind that most average consumers don't care or know that much about Pixel products, yet YouTubers act like they're a major player. They're really not. They're really not a major contender. I don't think Apple's worried about them in the slightest. I don't think they really consider that main competition. If you look at any type of best-selling, like any type of consumer reports looking at top 10 best-selling phones by this demographic, the Pixel is nowhere close. It's not in the top 10. It's probably not even in the top 20. And if there is, it's probably the Pixel 3a, which Google just got rid of. So if they discontinued it and they're not making it anymore, I doubt it was selling that well in the first place. But yeah, in the YouTube community, just because Google is a major tech company and they're known for Google search and YouTube and that kind of thing, people act like if Google announces hardware, it's a big deal when it really isn't. It's truly not. Maybe Prosser guessed Final Cut on iPad because he just saw A12Z run it because it was the dev kit. Maybe. That's possible. I could imagine some kind of confusion there. Let's see. My only problem with the iPad is the fact that the dock keeps popping up when I put the cursor at the bottom of the screen. I have no idea how to disable that because I still want to use split view sometimes, but the tabs on the bottom of the apps are very annoying when they randomly make the dock pop up. That's why I'm happy that all the iPadOS 14 apps have had the new sidebars instead of the stupid bottom tabs. I just hope that third-party updates their apps quickly. Oh, maybe that's why they're doing more of the tab view. I've noticed that. That makes more sense. I guess I never just throw my mouse down there that often. Usually, if I move my mouse to the bottom of the screen, it's slower. It's not like all the way to the bottom that makes the dock pop up. I haven't had that issue. Oh God. It sounds like Google might be getting out of the flagship business, though. From what I've read, like from what I've read, they're not even close to finalizing the Pixel 5. Like everything got pushed back and delayed by the pandemic. And in October, we're basically just going to see the 4A, and they're not even going to showcase the 5G Pixel 5 or whatever. But they'll bring a 5G version of the 4A or something. They'll do something like that. Do you think the economic crisis in the U.S. would severely harm iPhone 12 sales, considering that the U.S. is Apple's main market? I really don't. I don't think the people that buy new iPhones every year are that impacted by the pandemic. I think that the economic problem with people getting laid off and less people working, for one, they're still taking unemployment checks. Record number of unemployment filings, and as someone who knows a lot of people that were impacted by the pandemic and had their jobs put on hold and everything, they got to collect unemployment, and there's still the stimulus check, which kicked in, and the people that were living paycheck to paycheck and were in financial trouble by getting laid off and unemployment's not covering it for them, I don't think those were the people that were buying the new iPhone every year. I think those are the people that are probably still using an iPhone 7. Those are the people that would probably buy the SE. The people that are lining up to buy the new iPhone every year, or the people who pre-order the iPhones at midnight, are not in that same class. They may have been partially impacted, but I don't think enough for them to change their iPhone buying habits, to be honest with you. As more and more places are opening up and, more and more people are working, cases are on the rise, which is not good, but I just mean in general, there's most people I know that were impacted have gone back to work. So I don't think the iPhone 12 sales will be impacted too much by it, to be honest. And Apple released iPhone SE in like the dead center middle of the pandemic. That was when everything was shutting down. So they got something for everybody, I guess. I know plenty of people who are going to reward themselves for staying inside for all this time with the new shiny iPhone. True. People are so bored with being quarantined all the time, they need something to keep them interested. So iPhone's all they got. They're going to need that. Google pushing their phone dates back is good in my opinion, because it might force them to announce their phones early in the next year so they don't have specs that are instantly outdated by the end of the year. Maybe. To me, it seems like Google would be the kind of company that would still use last year's CPU, even though they launched the Pixel 5 in Q1 of next year. They would still use the Snapdragon 865, and they would still just be instantly dated the day it comes out. Yeah. I miss the Nexus lineup too. But I guess that didn't work for them, They would have kept doing the Nexus if it worked, so maybe Google just shouldn't do this. Maybe they're just not good at it. I don't know. Has anyone seen any third-party widgets yet? I definitely haven't. I think that's my next tech video, is I'm going to talk about iOS 14 widgets, because I'm really not that happy with them. The more I've used them, the less I've come to like them. And the default home screen I have, I actually don't have a widget. The only place I have widgets are like on the secondary apps. So they're not being utilized by me, honestly, that much. And I'm trying to find good use cases for them, and I'm honestly not finding that many. Well, for one, the widgets aren't interactive, which is a drawback, actually. Previous iOS widgets used to be interactive, so you could slide to the the side from the lock screen or whatever, or the home screen, and you could tap things. There were buttons on the widgets you could interact with, and they don't do that anymore. So the only thing a widget can do now when you tap it is open the app, which is severely limiting to what the widget can do. It means that you can't really change anything from the widget. Like if you wanted to have a home widget that let you change lights or scenes or something like that, you couldn't without opening the app. If you wanted a now playing widget with like a pause, play, skip, fast forward, rewind. You can't do that. Third-party widgets can't do that either. They're not allowed to because of how widgets are built, and they're also too big. I think I have the biggest iPhone available, and even the smallest widgets take up way too much space on the home screen. They're not delivering that much data, and a lot of the widgets Apple has built are not that useful. Like the Notes widget is completely useless. All it does is show you most recently edited notes. You can't edit the notes. You can't see what you were writing. It's just the headlines. So you can tap it and open the Notes app, but it's basically just making the Notes app take up a ton of space on your home screen, but providing no additional data. Same with the calendar. The calendar widget is just giving you all the dates and telling you what day it is. Maybe it's showing you an upcoming event or something like that, but there's a lot of widgets that aren't that useful, and I think they're too big. They should have made them a bit smaller, more compact, and they need to be interactive, I think. Androids have interactive widgets for years, so I don't think it's a battery life problem. I don't think it would make them super worse at battery performance if they were interactive. They're not that useful. As someone who uses the Tesla widget a lot to do quick commands, I would lose functionality if Tesla adopts SwiftUI for their widget. Exactly. There's a lot of widgets that would lose functionality because they're not interactive. Yeah, 2x1 would have been perfect, I think, because it would be enough space on the home screen to give you some information, like an iMessage widget. It could show you the most recent text or something like that. But the fact right now that they take up so much space is just, yeah, they want everyone to use SwiftUI. With the Siri suggestion widget, you can tap on one of their apps individually. Yeah, but that's just more apps. That's not a widget. That's just suggestions. All you can do, it's not really interactive because you're just opening up the app. It's not really the widget you're interacting with. It's just giving you more home screen interaction. Do you think Google buying Fitbit will be a hit or a miss? I don't think it'll be a hit because Apple has dominated the wearables market, and this year they're just going to continue to assert their dominance because Fitbits are already having a hard time competing with the Apple Watch as they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Most people, it's the number one watch in the world. It's one of the most popular wearables out there. So yeah, you can save a little bit of money by going with a Fitbit, but most people, I think, have proven to be comfortable spending $200 or less because they go on sale and stuff like that on an Apple Watch, and you get much more notification management, a much more rich display, and you still get all the activity benefits and health features and that kind of thing. I don't expect the Apple Watch to ever work on Android just because there's no incentive for Apple to do that. They would much rather have the best watch in the world that only works on iPhone, as that is a continued selling point to get the iPhone. Whereas if they optimize it for Android, they would just be allowing people to not buy iPhones at that point. So, yeah, you can't use the current widgets on the home screen of the iPad other than the Today view, which is stuck in that little side column, and it also like erases half the widgets unless you scroll through them, which I find annoying. I wish they would just stay there, but they're only available on the home screen of the iPhone, which I think is a little bizarre. The only argument for a Fitbit is a better battery life at 5 to 7 days. That's it. Yeah, but again, Apple's shown that most people are comfortable with the battery life of the watch. And in my opinion, that's probably going to be the biggest selling point of this year's Apple Watches is better battery life. As the Apple Silicon team continues to showcase they know what they're doing, they're probably going to make really power-efficient chips on the Apple Watch because you don't have computational photography to... Oh, shoot. What did I do? Sorry if it lagged out there. I accidentally put my mouse in the corner of the screen. I have that set to go to the screensaver. Yeah, there's less and less reasons to go with the smaller, cheaper wearables in the future, so that's why I wouldn't count on it. Yeah, I feel really bad for the iPhone SE people. People on the 4-inch display with those widgets are huge. Do you think Apple should bring their services to third-party platforms but at a higher subscription price compared to those who bought Apple devices? They've kind of already done that. I mean, Apple Music's been on Android since launch, basically, and Apple Apple TV is available on Roku. It's available on Samsung TVs. It's available on uh, pretty. I think it's all third party TVs. You can get the Apple TV app and watch TV Plus on it. So I guess that means the only services they haven't made available on non Apple hardware would be News Plus and Arcade. They wouldn't do Apple Arcade on Android. I don't see that happening. I guess you can have iCloud storage on Android, but not really. There's not really a point to that. I mean, you could sign up for it on the website, but yeah, I don't see anyone doing that. So I don't think there's any point. They've kind of outsourced everything they can. I mean, the only change they could probably make is iMessage is not a paid service right now, so I don't see it that way. But the only other thing they could do is bring the Apple TV app to Android. They haven't done that yet, but I don't see them doing that. It's probably not a common place for people to watch TV Plus content is on their Android phone. Not likely. Uh, yeah, just buy a $20 Fire TV stick and you get the Apple TV app. Exactly. Um, I just want them to make a watch that doesn't need their special charger. If it could work from a normal wireless charger, that would be great. Yeah, I think that'd be nice too. I wish they would bring that to just the flagship watches. I don't know why they need to make a specific watch that doesn't support Qi charging, but I believe it has something to do with the size of the coils. Because the little puck on the back of the Apple Watch is much smaller than most smartwatches' circular backs, which is what makes the coils on them so small, which is why they have that little proprietary charger. But if they could find a way to enlarge the size of those coils so that it could work on any Qi charger. Oh, Apple Card for Android. I mean, you can pay it off online, so you can technically use the Apple. You can't sign up for the Apple Card on Android, but you could use it on Android. You couldn't add it to Google Wallet. I don't see that many people doing that. I don't understand who would be like, I want to use the Apple Card, but I don't want to use an iPhone. Kind of the whole beauty of the Apple Card is how simple and integrated it is with the iOS already. So I've threw around my idea that iMessage could be a paid service on Android, but everyone tells me I'm an idiot for imagining that. So I don't know. It's just an idea I had. I'm not saying most people would do it. I'm just saying some people would do it. I imagine YouTubers especially, if they could switch to an Android and not lose their Blue Bubble iMessage, a lot of people would probably take advantage of that. The Apple TV app on the Mac is absolutely useless if you don't have an iTunes library. On the iPhone, iPad, and Apple TV, it integrates with all of your third-party TV apps, but there's no third-party TV apps on the Mac, so most of your suggestions just lead to dead ends. I think it's for TV Plus, I guess, but yeah, I agree. I don't have it on my Mac either. I get rid of that. I honestly don't know that many people that watch Netflix or YouTube, not, well, YouTube, but like TV shows or movies do they watch on the Mac. I don't see that as being that common. Why is Apple TV Plus not available on consoles? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't. I bet you'll hear about that one day. They'll bring it up on stage, or you'll hear some news announcement. Now you can watch TV Plus on the Xbox. They'll do something like that. There you go. There's already someone in the chat. I'd pay for iMessage if I'm on Android. There you go. Already a revenue stream. At least one person. You think the rumored 6 gigs of RAM on the iPhone Pros may lead to running 2 or more apps at once? No. I think the software experience is what is keeping Apple from doing split screen on the iPhone, because you can do split screen and picture-in-picture on iPads with 3 gigs of RAM. It's not a RAM problem. It's a screen real estate problem. You know, they kind of got away with it with picture-in-picture, but I still find it a little bit annoying that, you know, when you're trying to use an app, you constantly have to move that window around, but at least you can, like, swipe it off to the side and let it just play audio for a little bit. But I have tried time and time again to do split screen on Android, and I can absolutely understand why Apple doesn't want you to do that on the iPhone, because it's so crammed. It's so difficult to functionally use 2 apps at the same time, because anytime the keyboard pops up, it covers up the entire app, and you can read like one line of text at a time. If anything, I could see them doing it as an exclusive for the larger iPhone, but it's not a limitation of RAM. RAM is not the issue. It's a display aspect ratio, and you know the Apple has certain rules with iOS apps and how much space they take up and how much content you can shove on the screen at the same time. And I've yet to see a useful functional example of split screen on the iPhone that works really reliably. Yeah, they want you to buy an iPad because that experience of split screen is actually decent. You know, you can do split screen on the iPad and still see everything fine. You can still be running full-fledged apps and read and have the keyboard pop up, and you can still use it normally. But I don't see it. I don't see it working that well on Android phones. Picture in picture kind of works, but it is pretty. It is still pretty crammed. I don't think. I don't think that's going to be an iPhone 12 feature. Using a calculator and reading numbers, for example. Still, I'm having a hard time imagining that be very practical. Other than very, very small use cases like that, because that'd be the thing. If Apple did it, they would probably only let you do it on first-party apps. The calculator one's the only common one I see people bring up. There's not many others. You know, browsing the web and using Twitter at the same time is not fun on a 6-inch display. It just doesn't work that well at all. I've seen the jailbreak tweaks. I've seen that. The truth is, you can swipe between apps so easily with iPhones anyway. Like, it's so easy with the home bar to just jump between two separate apps to be like, okay, here's the calculation, swipe back, okay, let me enter it in. Apple needs to be optimized for it, just like on the iPad. The iPad is a 4:3 aspect ratio, whereas iPhones are not. They're 16:9 minimum or taller, which are not split screen friendly. Yeah, I think you're right. I think widgets did feel kind of like a last minute thing they added to appease people. On Android, many apps are not optimized for that, and you can see that. Yeah, I know. I can't. Again, I've asked so many people to show me like a functional, good use case of split screen on Android, and every time they show it to me, it looks so crammed and crowded and hard to use. Like any use case I've seen, I've always been like, "Yep, I can totally get why Apple doesn't want to do that." It's just easier at that point when you're like cramming all these buttons and all these text and everything on these tiny, tiny, tiny windows. It would be much easier to just swipe between the apps because iOS makes that so easy to multitask. Using a calculator while reading numbers, Apple, buy an iPad if you want split view. Calculator on iPad. Uh-oh. That's true. There is none because it's not a computer. Picture in picture they kind of get away with because it's so resizable and you can swipe it off the screen if you need to, but split screen is a whole nother battle. The calculator widget could be good. I could show your last answers on the small and medium, and it could be a mini calculator with just basic functions for the large. Yeah, take the Apple Watch calculator app and make that an iOS widget on the home screen. Something like that. I don't know. Split screen full demo proved that. Oh, yeah. The split screen on the Galaxy Fold, it looks so obnoxious to me. What I've noticed is that the people that defend the Fold are people that loved it the second they saw it and bought it on day one, and basically nothing could happen to the Fold that would make them not like it. You know, it could fall apart on launch day, and Samsung could cancel the launch, and they could break, and those people would still defend it. Because it folds and it can fold and it's a foldable, but people that are not really on board with foldables, I've yet to see their mind changed, and that's probably what's going to happen with the Galaxy. We already saw a leaked photo of it. The Galaxy Z Fold 2, which is such a stupid name. I hate that name. Why are you adding Z when it's not even in the shape of a Z? Why are we adding Z? Just make it a V. That would make so much more sense. Or just call it the Galaxy Fold 2. That's so much easier. Would have been so much more simple. Why do we have to call it Galaxy Z Fold 2? But the leaked images I've seen of it seem like they're just kind of leaning into more of the Galaxy Fold users. The people who like the original Galaxy Fold will like the Galaxy Fold 2. And the people who had issues with the Galaxy Fold are going to have the same issues with the Galaxy Fold 2. I mean, okay, now the outside of the phone's bezels are thinner, but the aspect ratio is so insanely tall that you can barely do anything functional on that exterior display. So if you're trying to use the argument of it's a phone and a tablet in one, we once again have the same issue of it's a weird phone and it's a weird tablet in one. So you're not really getting the benefits of a flagship phone or the benefits of a flagship tablet, yet you're spending the amount of money of both a flagship phone and a flagship tablet on one device. It looks a little bit like the original should have been, but I don't think it fixes that many issues people had with the original Fold. I imagine you still can't use a screen protector. It doesn't break, they shout while shaking it, and you can hear it rattling. Yeah. I will say durability is not the biggest issue with foldables. It doesn't help that, the first major foldable had major durability problems and they had to cancel and delay the launch. But as Snazzy Labs has proved many times on Twitter, the Z Flip is very durable. He's able to throw that thing around and it doesn't fall apart. But again, I reiterate the fact that anyone who has a foldable has more than one phone. So someone who will throw around their phone like that if they know they have a backup in case something goes wrong. But that's why I did my whole Z Flip review without bringing up the price point or the durability. Because I figured most people that were reviewing the Fold were saying, it's cool, but you should wait because it's still too expensive and it's kind of not durable. I was like, okay, let's ignore those 2 points. Let's say the Z Flip is cheap and super durable. It's still not that good. I wouldn't recommend it as a $700 phone. And it's $1,400. So that makes it a very hard sell, and I don't think Samsung's going to be able to get it that much drastically cheaper while adding more functionality to it at the same time. Split view would work if the iPhone had a 4:3 aspect ratio. That's why it works on the iPad mini, but not the 6.7-inch iPhone. Yes, I think I would agree. The aspect ratio has a lot to do with how splitting the screen and putting apps on both sides of it works more so than it's 7-inch display, so just do split screen. It's 7 inches, why not? You can do it. Which screen protector do you recommend for iPad Pro? I don't use one, so I don't have a recommendation. But Drew, the Z shape is the most compact fold you can achieve where you'll have 2 folding points so you can have a scroll when you unfold it. Wait, what? Most compact fold you can achieve and you'll have 2 folding points. But the Fold 2 doesn't have 2 folding points. It just has 1. Google doesn't support tablet for Android. Yeah, I know. Why are we trusting the company that can barely sell any tablets to make a foldable 2-in-1? I don't get why phones aren't wider. Pockets are generally quite a bit wider than that. I think it has to do with one-handed use. Phones, most of the time, people are using with their thumbs more so than their fingers. So if you have a wider display, it's a lot harder to use with one hand. Do you think the new AirPods will come at the September event? Yeah, I mean, some kind of AirPods have to come out. My God, how many dang AirPods leaks have there been? And nothing. Oh my God, have those leaks been inaccurate. I mean, John didn't stop on those AirPods leaks. My goodness, he said back in April that AirPods Gen 3 were coming. And then he said AirPods Studio were ready to ship in March, and they would come out at Dub Dub. And then he said AirPods Sport is coming in October. But everyone's gone quiet on that, and I haven't heard anyone else back that up. So there's AirPods Sport, AirPods Studio, and Gen 3 AirPods all rumored to come out this year, and we've gotten none of them. I imagine we at least have to get one of them by the end of the year. It'd be hilarious if we didn't get anything at the next Apple event. And the AirPods Studio were a complete fake. Those didn't come out at all. Yeah, he said there would be some type of AirPods X or AirPods Sport line that was supposed to be like Beats X headphones. He said that's supposed to come out with the new iPhones, but I haven't heard anyone else back him up on that, so I don't know if I believe it. It seemed a little too crazy when we were getting all those AirPods rumors at the same time. Seemed a little too crazy, so I don't know who to believe. And no HomePod Mini, I lump that in with AirPods rumors too, since it's all audio engineering team. That has been rumored for a long time. They still haven't done anything with it. I think the reason so many people believe the the HomePod Mini rumor is because it makes so much sense given the HomePod was so overkill and expensive for the market it was going after. Like, so many people were like, okay, the HomePod is nice sounding, but it's really expensive and very powerful. And the best-selling smart speakers are the Google Home Mini and the Echo Dot. So why wouldn't you make a smaller HomePod that's more reasonable for people? Because it's competing with the Google Home Max, and no one buys that thing. So why wouldn't you make a smaller HomePod? So that's why so many people believe it. Whereas all of the AirPods rumors sounded too crazy. They were getting all over the place, I guess. I only have one copyright strike on my Twitch account. I hadn't done a vlog explaining it to people, which is why I did a vlog somewhat recently, but because of my iPhone acting weird. And honestly, I'm having a lot of issues with Final Cut with iPhone, with not just iPhone footage, but smartphone footage in general. I believe it has something to do with the high efficiency video codec that smartphones use to record 4K at 60. But whenever I put smartphone footage in Final Cut, it lags like crazy. It will not play. It's constantly dropping frames. I can barely watch the video until after I edit it and export it. Yet I can load gigs and gigs and gigs of Blackmagic footage from my, super high-end professional grade cameras. I can load that into Final Cut, plays no problem. I can edit that thing without a trouble. But if I put 4K at 60 iPhone footage on my Mac, the graphics are all the playback's all over the place. It must have something to do with the video codec. I don't think it's a hardware issue. Maybe it's some kind of driver issue. But whenever I try to edit my smartphone vlogs on there, it gives me such a headache. It makes it so complicated that I'm just like, come on, this is supposed to be the easy footage. This is supposed to be the smaller, basic, the whole reason I prefer vlogging on my phone was so that it was supposed to be easier to set up and import and edit. Whereas now it's gotten to the point now where my Blackmagic cameras are easier to import and edit with, just because Final Cut is more acceptable of that file type. So I don't want to start vlogging on Blackmagic cameras because they're heavy and a lot of work to work with the CFast cards. In an ideal world, this should be simple. I should be able to record with my iPhone, and I know because I've done this in prior years. I was able to do this for a long time. I was able to record with my iPhone, airdrop the footage to the Mac, and it would airdrop really quickly, and then edit it in Final Cut, and it would edit fine. And now, either because of iOS 14 beta or Final Cut graphics getting outdated, or I don't know what it is, some kind of software problem, but it's become very, very hard to edit vlogs. So I don't really know how to handle it. Maybe I'll just start editing them on the iPad instead or something. I don't know. I heard we were getting a new video of John today. What do you think? Does he have some final leaks? I don't know. I think, personally, I think John should probably cool it on the leaks for a while and just go back to doing news videos because people really seem to like those. I don't think anyone had an issue with his regular front page tech stuff, but once he started doing the leaks and the rumors and everything like that, very quickly we started realizing what was wrong and what wasn't wrong, and there was a lot of mistakes made along the way. We're like, who told you this, and has this person that told you previous leaks now been proven inaccurate? Now we don't know who to believe and who not to believe. So I just think the leak game gets so messy and annoying really quickly. It just very, very abruptly became, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, and I get kind of annoyed with all that. So I think it's more interesting to just talk about what's going on and feed your opinion on it than it is to just tell everyone, here's what will happen, I am right, and then you end up being wrong. It's like, okay, well, now that makes the videos less eventful, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. I miss his regular vids. Yeah, I think most people just want him to go back to what he used to be doing. From what I've read, most people are like, just upload regular content. You don't have to wait until you have leaks or some kind. That's what people want. Which Apple Watch should I buy now, or should I wait for the Series 6? You're really, really close to the Series 6. Please, just wait for that. Just to at least get the Series 5 and 4 cheaper at this point. Vlog from the iPad now. It can do 4K on the front. Oh, God. I've actually heard that one of the problems that people have been having is converting HEVC encoded video that has the iPhone records with Intel processors from before 2018. That's one of the reasons Apple started switching over. Huh. Maybe that's what I'm going through. Link me on Twitter if you guys have heard other people having the same problem. Because I do have an iMac Pro, which its processor is from 2017, so that could be it. Yeah, CoinX is usually quiet. He doesn't tweet that often. That's what makes him so eventful. Actually, yeah, the iPad can't do 4K on the front. That's true. If the 12 Pro will not be so different from the regular 12, should I just get the 12 then trade in for the 13 Pro next year? Yeah, I mean, if all you care about is the display, there's really not much reason to go with the 12 Pro. The only thing you'll be spending extra money on is stainless steel, LiDAR, and telephoto. So if you don't really care much about the camera, there's very, very, very little reason to go with it. Spend all that extra money. Um, let's see. It can do 4K on the rear-facing camera. We know that. Show me what you got. Let's see. Hopefully those battery leaks mean Apple has a more efficient chip. I doubt Apple would release a smaller battery otherwise. That's what I'm hoping. It would be really, really messed up for them to be like, okay, the battery's about the same, and then it ends up being worse in real life tests. That would suck. I think Apple's trying to confuse us all, so we go in with low expectations when they announce the new iPhones. You know, people say that every year, and it doesn't usually end up happening. I think a lot of us in the tech community think Apple is more involved than we think they are. We think Apple's watching all these leaks and watching all these rumors and trying to feed us fake leaks and stuff like that. I really don't think they do. In my opinion, it doesn't make sense because most of the leaks that end up being wrong sound better than what actually ends up happening. Usually all the leaks we hear about make things sound really, really good, not bad. So we go into it with high expectations and get underwhelmed. So it's not to Apple's benefit to send out a bunch of fake leaks that get our expectations up only to let us down with the actual event. So I don't believe that's what's happening. I think there's just people spreading false info. People who act like they're high up and know what they're talking about don't know what they're talking about. And they do this for the sake of getting attention. I've seen it a lot in my years of making content. I'm watching with my wife. Can you point to the screen and say she should get her husband AirPods Pro for his birthday? Ace Rockala's wife, you have a greedy husband who does not deserve AirPods Pro. Sorry, probably just ruined it. He should work for himself and buy it with his own dang money. Unless you have joint finances. AirPods Pro are not worth it. Let him know that. Let Ace know that. Turns off the stream really quickly. I have a theory that Tim Cook has been wearing Apple glasses during events. They look like the leaks to me. We haven't seen the leaks of what the glasses look like. None of the leaks for glasses have given us accurate information on what they look like. We don't know what they look like. She's laughing. Oh, good. Wonderful. I know I'm about to thank her because she's probably rolling her eyes that you're playing some tech Apple Sheep Twitch streamer while you guys are obviously spending time together, and she would probably rather watch some TV show with you rather than listen to me right now. So I'm going to head out and let your wife choose the next show. I'm putting Ace in full-on simp mode. And thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the Twitch Primes. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.